Hi, how you doing? I'm going to take you through a dish which is a whipped goat cheese with textures of beetroot and raspberry. So first thing we're going to do is we've got three types of beetroot. I've got a golden beetroot, a candied beetroot, and a regular beetroot. You get these at any good grocer's. So with the golden beetroot, I'm just going to put that in a piece of foil, lightly seasoned, and just wrap that up. Wrap that up nice and tight. And that's just going to go in an oven at 160 degrees for about an hour and a half, and that'll soften through. Next, we're going to make our goat cheese mousse. So we're going to take our goat cheese, just a log of goat cheese, and we're just going to take the rind off there. If you leave the rind on, you're going to have lumps through your goat cheese. So you want to make sure you get all that off. Just use a knife and just work your way through it around the edges. And then I'm going to put this into a KitchenAid. You can put this into a mixer at home or anything you have that'll mix this up. We're just going to break that up with our hands, just straight into our mixing bowl. Then in there, so we've got our goat cheese broken up. We're going to add double cream. We're going to add some honey. So that'll you have the saltiness of the goat cheese, the sweetness of the honey will make that all just come together nicely. You get a nice balance of flavor. We're going to season that with a little cracked pepper, a little bit of salt, and then we're going to put that onto our mixer and beat until smooth. Just going to place this onto the mixer. Pull that up and then just put it on a low mix. And we're just going to whip that until it goes nice and creamy. And then just scrape the edge of the bowl just to make sure you don't have any lumps stuck on the side. And just continue whipping that. Once that's whipped, we're just going to turn it down slightly, and we're just going to add some chopped chive. And you're looking for that kind of consistency. So you'll be able to pipe that out of a piping bag and it'll be nice and creamy. So to put it into your piping bag, you're just going to pull the piping bag over your hand and kind of choke up on it. So you get a nice hole. You're going to drop your piping piece into the bottom, just push that through, a little squeeze. Now if you hold that open with your hand, you're kind of holding it with an open hand kind of there, you'll be able to spoon the goat cheese into the bag. What you want to make sure is that you're not getting it all up the side of the bag. So when you're trying to pipe that, you're just going to get more in your hand than you're going to get on the plate. And just use the bag just to squeeze off the last little bit. And that'll all come down into your bag, and then just use your fingers to work that down and get all the air out of it. And there you go. That's what you're looking for. So as I said earlier, we're doing a couple different textures of beetroot. So here I've got candied beetroot. You'll see there that you've got a nice colorful ring there of white and pink. We've got some regular everyday beetroot. So all I've done is taken a peeler and just peeled the beetroot and then worked it around into a nice circle. So you get a nice circular piece, because obviously they come in all shapes and sizes. Then taking a mandolin, you may or may not have one of these at home. You can use a sharp knife, but you need to be very careful. And also with a mandolin, you need to be very careful. That's a very sharp blade. So we're just going to work the beetroot, watching your fingers all the time, and get some nice thin circles of beetroot. And with the regular beetroot, again, we're just going to go through and get some nice thin slices of that. These are going to go onto a baking tray and in the oven at 160 degrees with a little bit of seasoning. And we're going to turn those into crisps. So we'll have some nice beetroot crisps. So we're just going to layer those up on the tray, and we're going to put those in the oven with a little bit of seasoning. Until they're nice and crispy. With these candied beetroot, we're going to make a pickling liquor. So for the pickling liquor, I've got some water, some apple cider vinegar, and some sugar. And then I've got a mixture of some different spices. I've got some fennel seed, some bay leaf, black peppercorn, cloves, and salt in there. So we're just going to pour the water. The vinegar. Sugar. And the aromatics. We're just going to bring that up to the simmer, and then we're going to reduce it back down again. So that's our cooking liquor coming off the heat now, and you'll see there that it's taken on all those herbs and spices, and then we're going to allow that to cool for about 5 minutes just to take the heat out of it. Otherwise, when you put your beetroot in there, it'll cook the beetroot too fast, and what will happen is you won't have that lovely nice color through the beetroot. So then we're just going to put our beetroot into that warm liquor, and if it's warm, it'll make sure that you don't bleed the colors in there. But if it's too cold, then obviously it won't soften the beetroot. So after about half an hour, you'll see that your beetroot there has just come up nice and pliable. So it's still got a little bit of texture and a little bit of crunch to it, but it's taken the edge off and it's not raw anymore. Just want to make sure you knock the seeds and your aromatics off. Otherwise, someone might bite into a clove or something like that, which will taste horrible. But also, you can risk cracking a tooth. And that's your pickled beetroot. Then we're just going to take an apple. Just going to take the edge off. And again, just on the mandolin, nice thin slices. And we're just going to slice through that, get rid of that bit, into little matchstick size slices. And then we're just going to store them in some lemon water. If you're not going to be cooking this dish immediately, the lemon water will stop them from going brown. And we'll just arrange those matchsticks. We'll just put those in a little bit of lemon juice and water, and we'll save those for later. So here I've made a herb oil. So I've just taken some rapeseed oil and some basil, put them in a blender or your NutriBullet or whatever you have at home, and you'll just blitz that into a smooth oil. All right, so we're taking our golden beetroot out of the tin foil. We've allowed that to cool slightly, and you'll see the skin there is just ready to be peeled off. So you can just rub it with your fingers, and that skin will come off nicely. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to do a nice dice. So just cut out a 1 centimeter slice. We're just going to take the edges off. And you'll see that the knife just slides right through that. It's nice and soft and evenly cooked. So now we're ready to plate our dish. So we're going to start off with our goat cheese mousse. So you'll see there the bag's nice and full, all the air's out of it. And we're just going to pipe a couple of nice rosettes on the plate. Take a little bit of our diced and just arrange it around the plate. A couple of our slices. And we'll just Take some raspberries, and we're just going to cut those in half. We'll arrange those on there also. A couple of the beetroot crisps. So you'll see they're nice and crisp and crunchy now out of the oven. We'll just set those just off of there. A little bit of our matchstick apple. We'll just arrange them on the plate also. I've got some dehydrated raspberry also that we're just going to pop on there. That'll give it a nice bit of zing. We've got a little bit of a raspberry emulsion. You can buy this in the store. It's basically a raspberry vinaigrette. We've made it with a little bit of mustard, raspberry vinegar, rapeseed oil, and we've just mixed that and blitzed that into an emulsion. So we'll put a little bit out on the plate. That'll give it a nice acidity. And I've just got some basil flowers, or you can use Thai basil. And we'll just organize that on the plate. And that basil will give it a nice peppery taste. And then a little bit of our herb oil. And we'll just drizzle that through the plate. Okay, so there you've got your whipped goat cheese, your 3 types of beetroot, which is your pickled candy, your beetroot crisp, and your slow roast golden beetroot. You've got a little bit of dehydrated raspberry, some fresh raspberry, some apple matchsticks, and then a raspberry emulsion and a little bit of basil oil and some micro basil on the plate. And that's whipped goat cheese. So the next dish we're going to take you through is a corn-fed chicken breast with some charred cabbage, some crispy chicken skin, some prosciutto, and a white wine and sage sauce with a fondant potato. So first we'll start off with a fondant. You want a nice sized jacket potato, and we're just going to peel that. Now if you wanted a particular shape, you could use a pastry cutter to cut out a circle. You can cut them into squares. You can cut them into any shape that you fancy. So traditionally, you would top and tail, cut in half, and then you would just trim them round. For today, what we'll do is we'll do a nice rectangle. So trim that down. You'll see you want it nice and even. You want it to be rectangle or square, or have a nice flat surface on the top. And we're just going to take our peeler and just knock the edges off it. And you'll end up with something like that. So in a pan, make sure it's an oven-proof pan, or if you're going to put it into a tray, you're going to put in some chicken stock. So we'll grab our pan like that. We've got some warm chicken stock here. I've got some butter, some seasoning, and some thyme. So in there, we're just going to pour our chicken stock just below the top of the potato. So that's why you need that kind of even, nice, flat surface. So you want the liquid to come all the way up, but you want the top of the potato to be dry. On there, we're going to put a knob of butter. This will help give you a nice golden brown on the top. We're also going to put a sprig of thyme. We're going to season. And then I'm just going to take a clove of garlic, just crush it with a knife. You don't need to do anything special to it. Just crush it up, and then we're going to put that in there as well. Now that's going to go in the oven for about an hour and a half at 180. And what you want to be able to do is just slide a knife or a toothpick just into it and make sure it's cooked all the way through. So here I've got some nice corn-fed chicken breast from the butcher. I've asked them to leave the bone on. So you'll see that little wing bone there. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to French trim it. So I'm going to come through with my knife, pressed on the bone, and just come through the skin there. And I'm going to pull it toward the chicken. Then I'm going to come in here again on the bone and just come up. And again here, come down. So you want a nice clean bone. So you just grab that and just scrape your bone clean. If there's a little bit of sinew or a little bit stuck on there, that's fine. We're going to trim that in a second. You're going to take your knife and you're just going to come through the top of the bone and take that off. Then we're going to take our chicken breast, and you just want to remove any excess skin or fat. All it's going to do is make your dish look, you know, a little bit unpretty and untidy when you go to plate. And then we'll just clean that bone off. There you are. Then, one thing that we're going to do is, for a little bit of garnish, we're just going to take our skin off this chicken. Again, you know, at home you're probably not going to waste the whole chicken breast just to get some skin off, but we will order in the restaurants, we'll order in chicken skin separately. Then we're going to take that. You can see where it's a corn-fed chicken breast, it's nice and golden and rich and creamy in color, and you get that nice fat content in the skin. You know, on chicken, you know, the majority of the fat on a chicken is in the skin, which is why it tastes so good. Scrape off the excess fat. Then we're going to take a tray with a little bit of grease-proof paper or parchment paper. We're just going to spread that out. Put a little bit of parchment paper over the top, and then another flat tray on the top of that. And that's just going to go in the oven for about 20 minutes till it goes nice and crispy. Now we've got our nice corn-fed chickens ready to go. They're all nicely French trimmed. And for the vegetarians of the group, we're also going to do a cauliflower steak. So I've taken a cauliflower and I've just cut straight through the middle of it. So it's all in one piece, you'll see there. And then just a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper. And that'll go in the oven and roast it till it's nice and golden brown, nice and nutty. As that browns up, the cauliflower will get a really nice nutty flavor with the butter. So to cook our chicken breast, we're going to take a pan on a medium heat. You don't need to blast this thing. You want to seal it. You're not cooking it through here while we're cooking. So in the pan, you're going to heat that nicely. A little bit of rapeseed oil. You don't need a lot, you know, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. Like I say, you've already got some fat content in the skin of that chicken. So you're going to take your chicken breast, make sure that your fillet is evenly spread out, and then we're going to season with salt and pepper. And then we're just going to place that in the hot oil, and you're going to place it away from you. It's always important when you're doing a chicken or anything that you're putting into hot oil, you put this side in first, and then you work away from you. That way if it does splash, it splashes the back and not you. And you'll just hear that start to sizzle. So that chicken now is just crisping. So what you want to make sure is, that you're not going to burn that skin. So you just want to check it every now and again, and you just want it to go nicely golden brown. We're going to finish this through the oven. So like I said, you're only sealing this. So you want your skin to be a nice golden brown color. You just start to get that sealed effect on it. Just move your chicken around the pan. What you want to do is you want to seal the juices in. So by sealing the outside of the meat, it will keep all that juice inside the chicken. If you don't seal your chicken, what will happen is all that nice flavor will just leak out of it as you're going through the cooking process. So you're shocking the outside of the meat to seal in that flavor. So as that chicken's sealing off, we're just going to take a clove of garlic, just take the top off it. We're just going to smash that. Give it a light chop. You don't need to chop, it real fine. We're going to take a little bit of thyme. Just going to pull off some of the leaves off of there, so you don't end up with the stalks. So now you'll see that chicken's nicely sealed. We're going to put it skin side down. We're going to throw in our garlic and our thyme. And you'll hear that nicely pop and crackle. A knob of butter. Nice knob of butter. And we'll return that to the heat just to foam the butter slightly. And as that butter starts to foam and you get all that nice flavor in there, you're just going to baste your chicken in that nice garlic and butter. We're just going to flip that over and baste the skin. And that'll really help give that chicken, a load of flavor. And then we're going to put that in the oven until it's cooked through and the juices are clear. And that will take about 15 minutes at about 180 degrees. And at the same time as the chicken, we're going to put the cauliflower steaks in also. So now our fondant potatoes are about 15 minutes off, and we put our chicken in, which is also 15 minutes off. So you should have those up at the same time, ready to go. So now we're just going to do a bit of cabbage. I'm personally going to take this and just take the whole cabbage, cut through the root and all, leaving a little bit of the root on, as you'll see there, so it holds it all in one piece. And then in a pan, we're just going to heat a pan up. You don't need any oil in there, so you're just going to heat the pan up as is. Once that gets to a nice temperature, you're just going to put your cabbage and just press it down into your pan. You can have that on a real high heat, and that'll start to char slightly. And what you'll end up with is a cabbage a little bit like that, that's nicely charred. So while that cabbage is just nicely charring off in there, we're just going to make a white wine sage sauce. So in our pan, we're going to take a little bit of garlic and just crush with the back of a knife, and then just finely chopped. One way that you can help yourself chop garlic is to put a little bit of salt on it. And then that salt will act kind of like a grinder, if you like, or like sandpaper. And then when you're pushing your garlic out to get a fine chop on it, that will help, the salt will help break that down into a paste. So you'll see there where the salt changed it from a chopped garlic into a pureed garlic. That's going to go in our pan. A little knob of butter. Some chopped shallots. And then we're just going to cook those off until they go clear. So you don't want those to go brown, you just want them to go nice and clear. Then we've got some white wine, some chicken stock, Some chopped sage, which you'll get at any supermarket. Nice fresh sage. A little bit of lemon and some double cream. And then obviously seasoning. So there's that. They just start to brown very slightly. You want to deglaze the pan with your white wine. And you want to reduce that by half. So you're reducing that to give you a little bit of extra punch from that white wine. You don't need to use expensive white wine for cooking. You're burning the majority of the alcohol off anyway. And you just want to bring that to the boil and then let that reduce. Your cabbage is now starting to brown off. So where that cabbage is now starting to brown, we're just going to take a little bit of butter. We're just going to spread it on there like toast. Again, on the other side. We're going to season that. And that's going to go in the oven also. So that's where your chicken's been in for about 5 minutes. Your fondant potatoes have been in for about an hour and 15. And then your cabbage is going to go in and that'll be ready at the same time. So once your wine is reduced, you want to add your chicken stock. And again, you'll let that reduce by half. Making this sauce for the vegetarians in the group, you're going to use veg stock rather than a chicken stock. To make a chicken stock, we're basically just taking chicken bones and veg peelings from carrots, onions, parsnips, turnips. Put it all into a pot with some aromatics, some bay leaves, peppercorns, so on and so forth. And you just bring that to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and let it cook for 4 or 5 hours, and then pass through a strainer, and you get that nice cooking liquor. So we're a few minutes off that chicken being cooked. We're just going to bring it out of the oven. You'll see there the skin's nice and golden brown. Just going to give it a little bit of a baste. And then that's probably got another 2 minutes in the oven. So once your chicken stock is reduced by half, you're then going to add your double cream. And again, we're going to reduce that by half. You can kind of see where I'm going with all this. We're going to mix your cream in there. Get all that nice flavor from the chicken stock and the wine. And then we've got our sage, our seasoning, and we're going to hit it with a little bit of lemon zest and a little bit of juice. So here I've got a zester, or you can use the side of a grater. Or if you wanted to, you could take a very thin slice off and then very fine chop. But using a fine grater will give you the effect you're looking for. You can now get these at any Tesco, Sainsbury's, anything like that. So there you go, a little bit of zest. That'll just give you a little bit of sharpness and will complement that white wine. Then a little bit of juice. My knife cut there. Then a little bit of juice from the lemon. So in there, a pinch of your zest. When you're squeezing your lemon in, you want to squeeze it through your fingers. That way you're not going to end up with a seed in there. If it's gone a little bit thick, add a little bit more chicken stock. If it's a bit too thin, leave it on the heat and it will keep reducing. Then we're going to add a pinch of our sage just at the end. So you're going to sage, season, and then you get a lovely smell off there when the sage goes in. So you can smell that chicken stock, white wine, garlic, onion, and then that sage just gives it a nice lift. Along with the lemon juice and the zest will just give it a little bit of a little bit more body, a little bit of a zing. So now you'll see that chicken breast has just come out of the oven. That's nice, golden brown, full of flavor. We're gonna let that rest for just a couple of minutes, just to let all the meat relax and just absorb all that moisture and flavor. We've got the cauliflower, which again, you can see is nice and nutty brown. And we'll just baste that slightly. We've got the cabbage, which is nicely charred. We've got our fondant potato, which is now, you can slide a knife through with no real give. Nice cream sauce, a little bit of sage for garnish. We've got some prosciutto crisps, which is just some prosciutto that we put through the oven, the same way that we did the chicken skin. And we've got some crispy chicken skins. That's your chicken skin, nice and crisp. So now we'll start plating. So you want to take your fondant potato, just drain the excess liquid off of there. That's on the plate. So you've got your nice thyme on the top of there and a nice soft potato. We're going to take some of our cabbage. And we're just going to break that up. So we'll take our cabbage and we'll just nicely arrange that just on the side there. You just want some nice petals. Obviously you've got all that nice butter and flavor through there. We'll take our chicken. So that's been rested, and when you slice through here, you'll see it's nice and juicy, and you got all that flavor through the chicken. So you'll see there's still a lot of flavor in that chicken. We'll just arrange that. We'll take a little bit of our crispy chicken skin. So you can hear how nice and crispy that is. And you just want to saw through it. So we'll just arrange that on there. Take a little bit of our prosciutto crisp. And we'll just arrange that through the cabbage, so you got sort of a cabbage and bacon. We'll take a nice bit of that sauce and we'll just dress the plate. And a little bit of our basil oil just to cut through. And a little bit of sage. So for the vegetarian, we'll go with the fondant potato. You've got your nice golden brown cauliflower steak. Take some of our cabbage and just trim off the end there. And arrange some of that just off to the side. Now with this, you could add a little bit of color, some green or some roast tomatoes, or some kale, roast kale, crispy kale, whatever veg that you happen to like. And again, a little bit of a sauce. And a drizzle of basil oil. Just garnish with some sage. And that's the main course. I'm going to take you through a strawberry panna cotta. So here in a pan, we're just going to make a jelly first. So that's your water, goes into the pan, along with your sugar, your strawberries, all into a pan and on the stove. And then we're just going to bring those up to a boil. Whilst that's coming to a boil, we're going to take our gelatine leaves. So you get these from any supermarket, and we're just going to soak that in some plain water until it goes nice and soft. And you just want that to go nice and kind of mandible. Your strawberries will come up to the heat. And what you want to do is you just want to boil them to get all the flavor out of that strawberry. We're going to pass the strawberry out of it, so you end up with just a strawberry gel. A lot of people think a panna cotta is quite hard to make, or you see it in a restaurant and go, wow, that's quite amazing. There's only a couple of ingredients, and it's quite, it's not too hard to do at home. Once your gelatine's nice and soft, so you'll see it's gone from brittle to nice and squidgy. That's where you want to be with that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our strawberries where we've got that nice color through there, and we're just going to pass the strawberries out of it. So you end up with a nice strawberry cooking liquor. Now in there, we're going to add our gelatine into that mix. And we're just going to whisk that through. And you just want to make sure it's nicely dissolved through there. And then you're going to make a jelly out of that. At that point, you can take any type of mold, glass, whatever you like, and basically that jelly will set. So where we're going to do a strawberry panna cotta, we'll pour a little bit of that jelly into that glass, and we'll let it set in a fridge until it goes nice and wobbly. So now for the panna cotta mix, we're going to take the pan, and in here you're going to pour your cream. So that's just double cream. I've got some tonka beans here. These you can get from the supermarket nowadays, any big supermarket. You get a tonka bean. Smells like vanilla, got a great flavor. Or you could use vanilla extract or some vanilla paste, which you can also get in the baking area of your local supermarkets. They're just going to go in. Your sugar into that mix as well. And then as before, your gelatine, now it's 1 leaf, is going in to soak in some warm water. Warm to cold water. Doesn't need to be boiling or anything like that. And then that's going to go on the stove. And we're just going to bring that to a simmer. You just want it to dissolve the sugar. You don't want it to be boiling, otherwise you'll end up splitting your cream. Then once your cream starts to simmer and that sugar is dissolved throughout the cream mix, once again you're going to take it off the heat. You're going to take your soaked gelatine, you're going to squeeze the water out of that, and that's going to go into your cream mix also. And again, we're just going to whisk that in to make sure it's incorporated through the cream. Then you're just going to take your tonka beans out. Obviously you don't want to leave them in there just in case you miss them. Someone cracks a tooth on that. Or if you bite into it, it'll just give you a very, very strange flavor in your mouth. Once your jelly's set, you're then going to pour your cream mix once it's cooled. So you need to let your cream mix cool slightly. Otherwise, if you put it onto your cold jelly, your jelly will melt and you'll end up with that swirling through and you won't get a nice layer. And then you're just going to layer your panna cotta mix on top of your set jelly. And these are some that we did in a mold. Not all of you will have silicone molds at home, but you can get them now at any major supermarket. So we've set the jelly in the bottom of the mold, let that set, and then we've gone back and poured the panna cotta mix on top, and then we've just popped those out of the molds. We'll just pop that straight on the plate. I've done a little, this is sugar, balsamic, mint, just a little bit of chutney that we'll put on the side there. That'll give you a nice little bit of acidity through that. And then we'll just drizzle that around the plate. A little bit of crushed up, these are some homemade shortbreads, but you can get shortbreads from any store. And just do a little bit of crumb on the plate. A little bit of spun sugar. And a little bit of strawberry ice cream. Just some crystallized mint, just to come off the side of that. And that's a strawberry and tonka bean panna cotta with some balsamic strawberries, some shortbread, strawberry ice cream, some crystallized mint, and some spun sugar.